Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to the Scoreboard podcast. We have 2 more weeks left in the USFL. Exciting 2 weeks. Well, for a couple of teams. There's most of the playoff situation is settled at this point. The Stallions have clinched the 1 seed. They have clinched basically the best record in the USFL. But we still have a race, and we still have interesting games to pick. So we'll go through all of them anyway. First of all, Smokey, how you doing?
Oh man, I am good. I'm better than Breakers fans at this moment. I think that's it for the Breakers. Like, there was no chance they were gonna. I'm sorry, I keep saying Breakers. Gamblers. Yeah. That's it for the Gamblers. Like, they weren't gonna make it to the playoffs anyway with that record, but it looked like they were the best of the 1-win teams, and they were actually gonna pull something out here. And then they go, and I would say it's a blowout. It was a 10-point win, but that game was a blowout. The Breakers were. God, I keep saying the Breakers. The Gamblers were really bad. But anyway, and they're going to lose again this week.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
We'll get into it, and also spoiler alert, I'm done picking them. I'm done for this
You
year.
have to be.
No Clayton Thorson either. I'm done picking them. There's like a couple good like bright spots maybe going into next season. Or get to that when we get to that. But nah, I'm done picking them. Mm-hmm. Stars also clinched the playoffs. So
they did.
Congrats on that. Philadelphia Stars are in. But we still have 1 spot to give away, and we'll get into the games for week 9. And we start off with one that's not so interesting: the New Jersey Generals at the Michigan Panthers.
Yeah, the Generals are definitely in. They clinched the previous week, as a matter of fact, so didn't matter, but they still came out and had a wonderful game, winning by 11 points. Luis Perez is still the most accurate quarterback in the USFL. It's another week with no interceptions. This wasn't his best game, but he still threw for 220 yards and had a QBR rating of over 100 again, which I don't think any other quarterback in this league can say that they've been over 100 every single week that they've played. I'd have to check that, but I don't believe so. Looking through the list, most of these guys, besides Tamu and Sloter, have been changed up anyway since the beginning of the season. Victor had 3 touchdowns. I guess when you get out ahead and you're playing a team like the Maulers, you can just run the ball and just keep running it. It doesn't matter. Turbin and the Moore brothers, they look good, and Perez can hit those guys at any time because he is that accurate. On the other side, Paxton Lynch had 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions also for the Panthers as they went down on yet another loss this season. No run game. Corbin has fallen off the map. Lance Lenoir is still a star, but he's not going to do much out there with no quarterback to really hit him in stride. But he is the best player on the team. I really believe that at this point. Too bad he's not going to be seen in the postseason. LaMichael Petaway is not bad also, if you check that guy out sometime. Generals are going to take this one easily.
So both teams not much to play for anymore, and I'm kind of predicting that we're going to see the backups coming in. We're going to see them trying to work the depth chart here, because this entire season is a prototype, right? This whole season is more or less a test run for the league itself, but also for the teams, because we can't forget the teams got together as they are now less than half a year ago, and they're now playing a full season with it. And we said it from the start, it's going to be, the whole thing is going to be like a preseason, and might as well take your time to gain information. The Panthers have been at that already with the quarterback position. It seems like they're switching it up every day, picking up new people, just trying stuff, see what works. And for the Generals, you already clinched the playoffs. You have nothing really to play for anymore. You already clinched the 1 seed, as a matter of fact. Or I guess you could technically go 7-3, but you probably won't. Generals are in. Generals are fine. They're not much to play for, but the quality of the roster is just better. Like you said, they're going to win the game probably by default. Though I wouldn't be surprised if we get at some point one of those games just being an upset, where one of the leading teams tries to experiment, stuff goes wrong. It's possible, but I think just in general, Generals have just a better better roster. Luis Perez, I'm assuming, is going to keep starting because it won't hurt even for him to get those extra reps. And none of these guys are that established yet with their team. So it'll be an extra practice for him. He's going to keep starting. Generals win pretty easily against the Michigan Panthers. We got the Gamblers at the Stallions.
Yeah, the Gamblers without Clayton Thorson is not going to do much. Not that they were doing a ton with him, and Bahar is just not going to hold up. He's just not who they thought he could be with Thorson out. He did look decent in a week ago when he started, or came in for Thorson, as a matter of fact. But he was the lead runner, if that's any plus on his side. And obviously, they have no faith in Dylan Dawkins anymore, and Bahar is also the quarterback and the lead running back. Redding and the rest, there's not much to say about the Gamblers. I think they are almost folding for the season. You would think you still have to play for something, right? Because you may not even have the same roster next season. A lot of these guys are going to flip up and go to the NFL. And, hopefully get higher spots in the NFL than they were before. That's what they're playing for. But on the other side, the Stallions had a very ugly win. It was not good. They won, but it did not look good at all. 9-10. I guess there's something to be said for them pulling it out. This was probably Bo Scarborough's worst game since coming in, but he still did not look bad. Jamar Smith kind of did look bad, though. I'll tell you that. He's almost falling off. I don't know. He seems to be getting worse. He looked really good when he first came in for Magoo. And he looks worse each week over the past 3 weeks. So I hope this is not a trend. Maybe they can turn it around. If that is the case, I'm going to put my money on the Generals to win this whole thing. But Magoo was in this game, and he was the best running back in this game with his one single run that gave him more yardage than half the running backs on the team. He got 22 yards out of one run. That's pretty cool, though. But maybe he's just one of those guys. He's like, Coach, I'll play wherever you want me to play. If I can't play quarterback, put me in a wide receiver. If I can't be a wide receiver, I'll run the ball. Marable was not in this game once again. But like you said, Scarborough can hold it up. I'm going to take the Stallions to win this one. But as funny as it sounds, I wouldn't be surprised if the Gamblers actually win this game. But I'll pick the Stallions just to be safe.
Would be poetic in a way for not just the league, but for us as well, if the Gamblers end up winning this somehow. But again, the Stallions are undefeated. I don't think they'll slow down necessarily, because there is the historic factor. We're getting into this historic territory now, where you can close out with a perfect record in the opening season as the de facto home team of the USFL and kind of establish yourself. This is the main attraction, the main brand of this league. Bar none, no doubts about it. I think there's an interest there for that to happen. I think you said it right. The Gamblers have folded the season. I hate that that's a pun, and I hate that it's accurate, but it is pretty much accurate. Let's face it, they suck. They're bad. Without Clayton Thorson, I've been hanging on to this for a long time because I see the defense and I see the explosive potential of when they can run the ball and when they can get after the quarterback. And in their credit, they got after the quarterback even in this game. It's not like the defense laid down and died. They still held Jordan Ta'amu to 13 points, which is good. And Chris Odom leads the league in sacks by far. And I'm assuming he's going to be in the NFL next year. You just can't produce on offense. You can't put up points. You can't put up more than 3 points. There's always some weak spot. There's always something. They just can't put it together, can't finish. Now, they're still a much better team than the Panthers or the Maulers at the similar record. But if you can't put wins together, I can only pick you for so long. On the other hand, the Stallions, that was a minimalist win if I've ever seen one. 10-9. Now the Breakers are a tough team, but that was a minimalist win. I don't know about the quarterback situation. Not too happy with what's going on there with all the rotation. Alex Magoo is in and out, and Jamar Smith is in and out. Wasn't a convincing game, but defense held up. They held on to win it, and they should be having a nice relief game against the Gamblers. So Stallions to win, go to 9-0. 1 game left for the perfect record, and I think with that in their sights, they'll probably pull through. So Stallions win against the Gamblers. I'm done picking Houston. I'm done with it. This is the one that actually matters now. The Bandits at the New Orleans Breakers.
It is. Yeah, this is the battle for basically the last playoff spot here. And, I mean, being 4-4, 4-4 with the Bandits and 5-3 with the Breakers. Now, if the Bandits win this game, I don't know how that's going to work out. I guess it'll come down to... But if they finish with identical records, maybe it's the heads-up playing that's going to determine the win. But I really think the Bandits have a shot at winning this one. The Breakers did what they did against the Stallions in putting up very minimalist points, as you said, in that loss, with the Stallions barely edging them out. But the Bandits got the win over the horrible Gamblers. But that was a really good defense. If you could say anything else for the Gamblers, their offense is not there, but they have a really good defense, in my opinion. Tamu is still the star of the team. BJ Emmons, man, they run the ball. They ran that ball. God, how many times? It seemed like 50.
Almost 40 times. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. Emmons and Washington out there. I guess that's what it is when you get up to a lead. You know, you just want to run the ball. But I would like to have seen more passing out of Tamu. He did throw an interception also, so. Maybe that's the reason, but if he can straighten that up, I think he has a good shot to beat Kyle Sloter and the Breakers, who, had that defensive loss there. I'm going to pick the Bandits. I think the Bandits get it here, and we're going to have some kind of controversy over who gets that final spot in the playoffs.
So this is an interesting, this is a very interesting scenario because I'm going to agree with you on the pick. I'll take the Bandits, and I'm also going to explain to you why it probably won't matter. First of all, boy, Kyle Sloter looked bad. I know he's been maybe the most consistent quarterback in the league, and he still leads the league in passing yards as far as I'm aware, but man, that was a down game for sure. 2 critical picks, and then last second, the game-losing interception. And, I mean, your defense gave up 10 points. This was a game for you to win and to upset the Stallions, and he played his worst game of the year by a landslide, so couldn't get it done there. He definitely choked that one away. As for Jordan Tamu, we kind of know what he is, a reliable quarterback with a subpar team around him. I'm gonna say, having seen that from Kyle Sloter, it's very, very hard to trust him. I'm gonna take the Bandits as well, but here's why I don't think it really matters. Because if we look forward, week 10, the Bandits play the Stallions, the Breakers get the Gamblers. So we know the Bandits have to win out, including beating Birmingham, and hoping for the Breakers to lose to Houston. None of that's gonna happen. So this is, to me, a pseudo important game. Yeah, it's like this is the playoff spot on the line, and if Tampa Bay loses, it's all over. It's like you have to win, but it probably won't matter down the road because the Breakers already have the better record. Records were flipped. This would be an extremely interesting game because it'd be a must-win situation. But as it stands, to me, as long as you don't throw it away against Houston in week 10, the Breakers are going to be in the playoffs, and Tampa Bay probably won't make it. Even with Jordan Tamu, which is maybe not great for the league because you're arguably one of your best players not in, maybe your best or most electrifying, most known player not making the playoffs. The outside chance is still there. I think he'll pull off the heroics to beat New Orleans this week, but it's not going to matter in the long run. So Bandits to win for the record, Bandits to miss the playoffs anyway. And finally, we have your Philadelphia Stars, which you probably have a lot to brag about at the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Yeah, the playoff-bound Philadelphia Stars. 5-3 record. They are heating up. Man, I'll tell you, Case Cookus, not Connor Cook, as I have called him on several occasions, but Case Cookus was on fire. Like he was killing it out there. He went 20 for 26, QBR of 145, 4 passing touchdowns. Not only that, he ran for 118 yards and an extra touchdown. Like, he literally destroyed the Panthers pretty much all by himself. The first team this season, I think, if I'm not wrong, to score over 40 points in the USFL. So that's a record, and pretty much Cookus did this by himself. Who's Brian Scott? We don't even need him at this point. Case Cookus looks like he's ready to go. Looked as accurate as Perez, as mobile as Jamar Smith. Like, he looked like he could do it all in that game. And this game is no different. They threw Roland Rivers out there. The Vat Lee experiment is over now. You don't have much weapons on the other side, especially with Roland Rivers playing. He wasn't good. He wasn't any better than Vat Lee. Madre, London, and Groshek is not going to carry this team. Isaiah Henney, I think he's a decent player, but you don't have a quarterback that can get him the ball. So I think Colburn, Sewell, and Case Cookus is going to destroy the Maulers.
I will agree with that 100%. The Maulers, I mean, dead in the water pretty much for the whole season. I scored some points, but this is one of the teams where you can clearly see that tendency of let's throw everything we got on the field, see if we can find anything at all, especially quarterback position. The Vad Lee one, you fell for that one for 1 week.
Yeah.
Didn't pan out in the long run. Now Roland Rivers, who I've never even heard of before, gets thrown out there. Has an average to mediocre game. Was enough to beat the Generals, unsurprisingly. But yeah, you said, I mean, I gotta give it to your quarterback. That was the best game I've seen all season. I mean, you think of Jordan Tam, who had that like I think 3 touchdown game with 400 yards or something. But this was a one man show. Carried the run game, carried the passing game. All the explosive plays that were made came from him. The receivers kind of took a little bit of a step back there as well. Even though I will say one of the more underrated things for the Stars is the depth in the receiving core. You got 3 different guys with the receiving touchdown. You got Buck Howard as well, who I think has the most receiving touchdowns in the league, red zone threat. It's a promising roster. I will give you that, and you should be happy about this win because this was a fireworks, if only against the Panthers and Paxton Lynch, who's also a rotational quarterback, and they're trying stuff out, but should be happy about it. And yes, they're gonna beat the Maulers. I would be very surprised if they didn't. Now they are playoff bound, as you mentioned at the start, so it could be that we're resting guys, but as I said before, I don't think this is necessarily going to be the case in the USFL this year. You got a shortened season, you got 10 weeks only, and you got a team that's still like learning to play together. I think the disadvantages of resting your starters kind of outweigh the advantages of trying to do so. Like NFL teams, we see them do that sometimes in week 17 or week 18 now. I don't think we're going to have that here. So starters all the way. Keep riding that momentum. Stars are going to win 100%. They'll have an interesting one, season finale next week against the Generals, which is going to be the litmus test going into the playoffs. In my opinion, that's going to be a good one, and that is also a potential championship game for the North there with the Generals. So we know that they're going to be a meeting in the playoffs. So yeah, Stars to win. Maulers, not really much to say there. We agreed on all the picks, I think, this week, huh?
Yeah, we did. Which I didn't even mention in the beginning of the show, but I went 4 for 4 again last week. And, of course, you picked the Gamblers. So that put me up 1 extra point, 23-21. I was kind of waiting for you to disagree with me at some point to try to get those points back.
Hard to do.
It is. Like, it just seems set at this point that this is just how the season is going to end, like right here.
It feels like the only controversial game where like you could make a disagreement and justify it smartly would be the Tampa Bay game. But that was going to be my bold one, right? I was going to go Bandits, and I'm actually quite convinced and happy about that pick against New Orleans. I was banking on you to take New Orleans. Bounce back game, better record, clinch the playoffs, because it is a clincher for the Breakers. We know that there's a very unlikely chance that they'll lose to Houston, and also the Bandits beat the Stallions. But it is definitely a clincher, because if you win this, you're done. You can relax for a week at least, and you're in the playoffs. So they have a motivation for it. I was hoping you'd pick him. I could come over the top with the Bandits, but didn't happen. That means I need to disagree on 2 games next week. That's going to be hard to do. Maybe not. Maybe not.
You still have the playoffs, too, though.
Oh, yeah, I do have the playoffs. Yeah, well, that's not that much. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll bring the gamblers back for week 10. Who knows?
You know, here's something interesting that could play out like this. In week 10, you mentioned it earlier, we're going to see the Stars versus the Generals. That's also a playoff matchup.
Yep.
They're going to play 2 weeks in a row. But we could also... Yeah, if Tampa Bay wins this one and somehow plays the Stallions and wins, and the Breakers just lose to who are they playing?
We could have that one.
The Gamblers.
2 back-to-backs as well.
Yeah, we could see the playoff game happen in week 10 on both sides, and then happen again in round 1.
I don't believe it in the South because I don't believe the Bandits sneak in. They're not gonna get through. And I think even if you're the Stallions, you kind of don't want to see Jordan Ta'amu because that's kind of the only guy who, as an individual, may have a chance to beat you. So you'll do your best to keep him out of the playoffs because you're gonna beat Kyle Slaughter. You're gonna completely overwhelm Kyle Slaughter and the Breakers. And you're probably gonna run. You're probably gonna run through anyone in the South at the moment. So you probably try to avoid the Bandits. Don't think it's gonna happen. In the North, it will happen, which that's gonna be fun to see because we don't get that in the NFL. We get all the divisional matchups at the last week of the regular season, and they are not possible happening first week of the playoffs, the wild card round. So it's the first time we're getting to see that, which is interesting. It's kind of like a 2-game series almost.
I'm wondering. I think it may have happened one year. It may have been the Panthers and the Saints played back to back. I think it may have been 2017 when the NFC South put 3 teams in the playoffs, and I think we may have actually seen the Saints and the Panthers back to back. Does it happen? Yeah, I think so.
In the wild card round.
Yeah, because who would have been the number 1 seed? Well, it didn't matter because
2017 or 2017 it could have been Atlanta, or that was 16.
Well, Atlanta went to they went to the Super Bowl in 16, and then in 17 the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons all went to the playoffs. So I'm thinking we may have actually seen that year the Panthers and the Saints back to back. We'd have to look at the last game of 2017.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that because I don't recall that ever happening in the wild card round. I know it's possible in the divisional round. We saw it in the NFL this season with the Rams and Cardinals. They played in the divisional round. I don't know if it's possible in the wild card. I thought it was. I don't recall seeing it at least, but we will get it in the USFL.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be interesting because these two teams look really good at the moment. The Generals have looked good all season. The Stars are just now heating up, and Case Cookus played out of his mind. I hope he can keep that up because that's going to be an excellent quarterback matchup for Week 10 and the first week of the playoffs, is to see Luis Perez against Case Cookus. That's going to be an amazing matchup there. The immobile Luis Perez versus the very mobile Case Cookus appears.
As it appears, apparently, yeah. You're right about the heating up. They scored 35 or more points last 3 weeks. So there's some hope. I can see why they could make a run for the championship game. I can see it. And it would be great to see the Stars and Stallions. I will say that. That could be offensive fireworks.
Yeah, I think whoever comes out of the North is going to deserve it. Really, I don't think it's going to be any fluky wins here because both of those teams deserve it at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see the preview for that in Week 10 next week. So hopefully you enjoyed the predictions. Drop us a like. And one more week left. I guess the only really thing we need to know from you in the comments is Stars or General, not Stars or Generals, is Breakers Bandits. That's the only one that kind of still matters. All the other ones are more for show than anything else. Do you think the Bandits can pull off the upset? And it's more of a 2-week prediction than a 1-week prediction even. I can beat the Breakers, but do you see the chance there, or is the playoff picture pretty much set in stone? Next week we'll know more. Maybe it is set in stone if the Breakers win, but we'll do Week 10 anyway. Kind of recap maybe a little bit as we go into the playoffs, and hopefully have a successful championship with the Stallions coming out on top, obviously. I'll give you the Stars though. I'll give you the Stars as runner-ups. That's you have to be cool with that. That's going to have to be enough.
I'll tell you right now. If it's the Stars or the Generals, I'm picking that side to win this whole thing. I don't care how dominant the Stallions have been. They have been on a decline over the past 3 weeks. And this side, the North, has heated up. They look like the lesser division at the beginning of the season, but right now the North looks dominant over the South.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. That is locked in. Even if the Stallions are 10-0, that's locked in now. You're picking the North.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Stallions. That's also locked in. If they make it there. We're not sure that they will, but we sure hope that they will. But yes, that is locked in. That's another point for me if it comes down to that, hopefully. But drop us a like, everybody, and we are going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.